Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Bistégs TV. Thanks so much for stopping by. We're really glad to have you here today. We promise you're in for a treat because we're about to whip up something absolutely mouth-watering. So have you ever craved a dish that's not only super easy to make, but also packed with flavor? Well, you're in luck because today we're making string beans with tofu and pork. This dish is a perfect blend of textures and tastes, from the crispy tofu to the tender pork, all tied together with deliciously seasoned string beans. Sounds amazing, right? Let's start cooking. Here's what we'll need to get started. Fresh string beans, firm tofu, tender pork slices, a bit of oil, fragrant garlic, sweet onions, juicy sliced tomatoes, a pinch of ground pepper, rich soy sauce, a glass of water, flavorful oyster sauce, and to top it all off, a savory pork cube. Let's dive in. First things first, let's heat up some oil in our frying pan. This is where the magic begins, folks. We're going to start by frying our tofu until it turns into beautiful golden cubes of perfection. Trust me, this is what's going to give our dish that irresistible texture. Tofu is an amazing ingredient because it's like a blank canvas. It soaks up all the flavors you add to it, but it also has this wonderful, subtle taste on its own. Plus, when you fry it to perfection, it adds a lovely texture to any dish. Now that we've let the tofu cook on one side, it's time for the moment of truth. Flipping it over to see that golden perfection. Take your spatula and gently lift one piece to check. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? A nice, even golden brown. That's exactly what we're looking for. All right, now that both sides are done, let's carefully remove the tofu from the pan and place it on a plate. We're going to set it aside for later, but don't worry, it'll be back soon to play a starring role in our dish. Now it's time to build the flavor base of our dish. Let's start by heating some oil in a fresh pan. Once it's hot, in goes the garlic. I wish you could smell this right now. It's incredible. Next up, onions. Stir them in with the garlic and watch as they start to turn soft and translucent. The aroma that fills the kitchen at this stage is just divine. We're layering flavors here, and it's going to make all the difference in our final dish. Let's add in our sliced tomatoes. The acidity from the tomatoes is going to balance out the richness of the pork and tofu beautifully. Stir them around and let them soften, releasing all that wonderful flavor. Now comes one of the most exciting parts, adding the pork. We're using thin slices of pork that are going to cook quickly and absorb all the wonderful flavors we've built so far. Add the pork to the pan and stir it in with the garlic, onions, and tomatoes. You'll notice right away how the pork starts to take on the flavors of the aromatics. The key here is to cook the pork until it's just golden on the outside. We're not looking to overcook it, just enough to give it a beautiful sear that locks in all those juices. Once it's seared, we're going to cover the pan and let it cook through for a few minutes. This will allow the pork to stay tender and juicy while it absorbs all the rich flavors we've developed so far. As the pork cooks, you'll start to see the sauce come together. The juices from the pork will mix with the tomatoes, garlic, and onions, creating a rich, flavorful base that's going to coat every bite of tofu and string beans later on. With our pork perfectly cooked, it's time to season the dish. We're going to add a good pinch of ground pepper for a bit of heat and a splash of soy sauce for that deep, savory flavor. Soy sauce is a powerhouse ingredient. It adds saltiness, umami, and a rich depth of flavor that's essential in so many dishes. As you pour the soy sauce into the pan, give everything a good stir to make sure the pork is evenly coated. The soy sauce is going to blend with the juices from the pork and tomatoes, creating a deliciously savory sauce that will infuse every bite of this dish. After you've stirred everything together, cover the pan again. We're going to let the pork simmer for a few minutes to really absorb all those flavors. The soy sauce, combined with the natural juices from the pork and vegetables, will start to thicken slightly, creating a beautifully rich and flavorful base. Now that our pork is tender and packed with flavor, it's time to add the star of the show, our fresh, crisp string beans. String beans add a wonderful crunch to the dish, and they're the perfect contrast to the tender pork and crispy tofu. As you add the string beans to the pan, stir them in well, so they're evenly coated with that rich, flavorful sauce we've built. The goal here is to cook the string beans just until they're tender but still have a bit of crunch. This is important because you want that fresh, vibrant texture to shine through in the final dish. Cover the pan again and let the string beans cook on medium heat for a few minutes. The steam will help them cook evenly, while the sauce will infuse them with all the delicious flavors you've developed so far. As they cook, the string beans will absorb some of the sauce, becoming even more flavorful while retaining their fresh, crisp bite. Our string beans are almost there, tender, but with that perfect crunch. Now it's time to bring everything together with a bit of liquid. We're going to add a glass of water to the pan, which will help deglaze all those delicious bits stuck to the bottom and create a more cohesive sauce. Pour the water into the pan, stirring as you go to make sure everything is evenly combined. The water will help the sauce coat every piece of pork, tofu, and string bean, ensuring that every bite is packed with flavor. Once the water is mixed in, it's time for one of my favorite ingredients, oyster sauce. Oyster sauce is rich, savory, and slightly sweet, adding a deep umami flavor that takes this dish to the next level. As you stir it into the pan, you'll notice the sauce becoming thicker and glossier, clinging beautifully to the string beans and pork. This is exactly what we want, a sauce that's rich, flavorful, and coats every bite perfectly. Cover the pan once more and let everything simmer together. This is where the magic happens. Every ingredient is coming together, soaking up the flavors of the sauce and becoming more delicious by the minute. With our sauce rich and flavorful, it's time to add our secret ingredient, the pork cube. Pork cubes are packed with concentrated flavor, adding an extra depth to the dish that makes it even more satisfying. Crumble the pork cube into the pan and stir it in until it's fully dissolved. The pork cube will melt into the sauce, enhancing the flavor of the pork and giving the dish an even richer, more savory taste. This is one of those little touches that takes a dish from good to amazing. It's all about building layers of flavor. Now it's time to bring back our crispy tofu. Add the tofu to the pan, stirring it in gently so it doesn't break apart. The tofu will soak up some of the sauce, becoming even more flavorful, while its crispy edges add a wonderful texture to the dish. Let everything cook together on low heat for a few more minutes. This final simmer allows all the flavors to meld together, creating a dish that's rich, satisfying, and full of contrast. Tender pork, crunchy string beans, crispy tofu, all coated in that delicious sauce. And there you have it, folks. Our string beans with tofu and pork is ready to serve. Just look at that beautiful dish. The vibrant green of the string beans, the golden tofu, and the tender pork all glistening in that rich, savory sauce. It's the kind of dish that looks just as good as it tastes, and I can't wait for you to try it. This dish is perfect for a weeknight dinner when you want something that's quick, easy, and packed with flavor. Serve it over steamed rice, and you've got a complete meal that's both satisfying and delicious. Every bite is a perfect balance of textures and flavors. Crunchy, tender, savory, and a little sweet. Thank you for watching Bistégs TV. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and of course subscribe to the channel for more delicious recipes. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers!